Hello and good afternoon to everybody out there, and particularly those in Aotearoa, of course, who are chiming in at this time with us, and anyone else, of course, throughout
everybody. Lovely to be here.
It's a beautiful day here, and energy is high. So we're really keen to get into this conversation. We had and have a lot of people who are finding it very difficult at this time with all that's going on the planet to come into a state of equilibrium, really. And one of my students said to me the other day, how do we love them? And it was something that I was seeing a lot of people struggling with at this moment. And how do we love this that's going on out there at the moment? So Janine and I very quickly came to the agreement that it was a great topic and that we would go live with it. And we're going to continue with some lives, and it'll just be Janine and I having a chat. And if you would like to chime in on the chat, just put some comments in underneath and we will pick those up and bring them into the chat. So welcome everyone. So how do we love them, Janine? How do we do this?
Well, it's not so easy for most people to love the abuser, to love the one who's standing in front of them, creating fear within their life, creating, bringing deceit. And like in this day and age, right now, isn't it relevant that we have this conversation? And yeah, how do we love our abusers? And it all comes back to, and I'll probably say this all the way through our conversation today, but it always comes back to ourselves. It doesn't matter what is going on the outside of it. It really matters what is going on the inside of us. And so, we can't say it doesn't matter when we're standing in the middle of a massive fight around us, or antagonistic energy that's completely surrounding us. Very hard to stay centered in your love when it's coming at you from all angles on the outside, but it's about how do we respond to that? What do we do in that moment of being there? And like for us here in New Zealand, we've seen this firsthand in the last week, of course. So we're learning big time, aren't we, Mandy? We're actually learning big time. We're right at the coalface now, learning about ourselves through what we are seeing and experiencing on the outside of ourselves.
It's a very difficult thing, and I know for me, it always comes back to the internal, whatever our vibrational space is within, and how those triggers turn up for us. So with whatever it might be going on in our external world, of course, it brings up the vibrational frequency of some sort of emotion within, and that's the thing that we need to look at to clear. So I always go back to its cellular memory, and we, if we have any sort of triggers, that's what we do. We clear the memory, or the emotion connected to the memory. And in this space, with all of this going on, it has been, for me, I've been in and out of this loving them, and then, just wanting to do awful things. And so it was coming back to the realization and reminding myself, which happened one day with Spirit. It was like showing me the picture out there, and how that these people are all players in a game. And, we've heard it said before that we're all players on a stage, and we're in this play and we're playing out life. And that's exactly really how it is. And so seeing these people, whoever it is, the abusers, in whatever way they may be abusing, even just seeing them as someone, as a catalyst who is bringing up and allowing you really to bring up the parts of self that need healing, because it's all coming from wound. And I know from the moments that I've released those things within me, the whole scenario shifts. I'm not in that space anymore, and that's not playing out for me anymore. And the people even move on,
Yeah.
So it's an inside job for sure, always.
It does. When we really start to get that we are the creators of our life. Us, ourselves, we stand center point in our creative universe. And so if we find ourselves in a scenario where there's huge abuse being hurled at us, then there is an opportunity. Life is giving us a reflection of something within ourselves that it's time for us to, or we're invited to look at, to acknowledge, to feel into, and to accept. Like, we don't have to do any hard yards here. We simply have to acknowledge that we're feeling like we are, and if we're angry in that moment, yeah, that can be justified. But own the anger. The anger is not just what's going on the outside of us. It's something on the inside of us that birthed that anger. It could have been years and years ago in our youth. Normally it is. Way back when we were little, we can even bring it in from past life experience, and it's grown upon in this life. So it's about understanding that we don't have to be a victim to what's going on here in this reality. And if we are, and we stay in that energy, then we choose that. We are choosing that experience, because all our experiences here are chosen by us, because we create them. But, it's just, it's getting people to understand
exactly
how it is.
And to understand too that we've been, if we look at the, say, 13 codes of ascension, what we've been doing is we've been, all of us collectively, creating this now. Except we didn't realize that. A lot of us did not know that this is what we do, and that we're all so connected. And now I think when you look at how quickly a flu can spread, we see how quick, how we really are all connected. And that even though there's so much air out there, and I often think this when I'm sitting behind a car in front of me at the lights, or even just traveling, who's having a cigarette in their car, and the smoke is coming through and it's coming into mine. I think, with all the air in the world here, why is it that it's coming in my door? And it's like there's so much, but it's just we are so connected in every part of it. And when we see that it's a stage play, and we're all part of that play, and that we're all characters in that play, and to see what your part is and how we connect ourselves with each other, because there's the little triggers, or there's the big triggers that are going to connect us up. But yes, it's very interesting. And I think at the moment, the biggest thing is really, I feel, is to find those connections and really clear them out. If they're uncomfortable, if they're not, if they're bringing you into that victim. And for me, I've always called it victimitis. I believe it's the biggest disease on the planet, because it's when we're in victim, everything, we're blaming everything, we're feeling it as though we are being attacked. And that's what this whole series of events over the last couple of years has really been bringing people into that place. So it's a tough ride when you're sitting in that space of everyone's doing this to me, and that was my life.
Yes,
that was my life until it wasn't.
I totally hear you, Mandy. While we blame, what I call the blame shame game, while we play that, we never break ourselves out of it and rise above to see the expanded viewpoint, step back into observer mode, where we can see it on a whole new level, what's going on. So we see ourselves in relation to what's going on. So rather than being in the story itself, rather being right in the emotional flow of what is going on, we step out of it, and we have a chance then to view it, and that's therefore accept it, and heal whatever it is within us, So as you were talking before about the effect here in this reality. I saw a huge goldfish, well, a huge aquarium, and because being a intuitive visual, I get a lot in sight, so in vision. So I saw this huge aquarium, and the aquarium was representative of the universe. And so here we all are in this aquarium, and you know, there's a tiny little droplet of water that drops down into the very furthest corner of that aquarium. But that one tiny droplet sends a ripple out right through the aquarium. And this is what it's like here. For every droplet of emotion that any one of us 8 billion souls here on this planet have, it goes into the field and is felt by the whole lot of us, by every single person here. So while we've got this play carrying on in this reality at this time, imagine what the aquarium looks like with the emotion that's going on from every part of it. And those of us that are solid in our knowing of who and what we are, and understand, you know, why we're here and our purpose here, it's like being rocked backwards and forwards all over the place. But I see us with our feet solid. So we are anchored and solid to the bottom of that aquarium, and we're just moving around with the ripples and the tides and everything that's going on. But the more people that we can get, or the more people, not that we can get, but that awaken to themselves and how solid they can be standing in that without moving around, but without going right in and losing their footing and getting into the story, then the quicker we're going to get through this, the quicker it will dissolve, and we will start really seeing the new world that's forming right now. So, and that's the inner journey. That's why all this is going on right now. So the awakening is not just this reality changing, this earth awakening. This is the awakening of us, each of us individually, and then us as a whole, as one. This is the awakening.
It is. And it's again the 13th code, which is, you know, coming into oneness with all and all one with us. And that's where I feel all of this now is really connecting people up in the realization that it's now time to bring our focus out of that whole world and scenario into creating something new, you know, and directing. And I see this happening more and more, that more are now pulling out and directing their energy towards and with others in the same sort of like minds, you know, wanting this new world of harmony and peace and unity rather than all this division and segregation. And I was just explaining to Janine earlier on about a little experiment that happened, or experience that happened for me, and seeing the connectedness. Is that when I usually go out to do my nature stuff outside, you know, mowing lawns or pruning trees or anything like that, I'll connect with them before going out there. And just ask them to draw their energy back, just telling them what I'm intending to do, that, you know, you need some branches cut, so I'm just going to cut a few of your limbs, which sounds terrible, but it's what we do. And I struggled with it for a very long time in the actual reality of what I was doing. And so I connected and I energetically put that out there to them. And this one time I didn't. And I went out and I was very angry. Something had happened that morning, and I was with my weed eater really aggressively going in to trim the edges before mowing the lawn. And there was a wasp nest on the trough outside. And these wasps just rose up and just straight at me and connected, you know, tapped into me and my aggression. This was just exactly what I was putting out there was coming back to me. So that in its own, you know, way is a sort of a great way to see how we are unconsciously connected. Even if we don't know we are. And that you know yourself, when you get up in the morning, you can be in a really great mood and you get in your car, you've got to go to town, you get all the green lights, you get the park right outside the shop you need to go to, you know, and that can be repeated the whole morning or day while you're in that space. the day you wake up, you're not in that good mind, and you go in and you get in the car and you know, grumpy in here, you get all the red lights and you can't find a park anywhere. It's got to walk for a mile to get to the shop you need to go to. All of those things, they're all part of what's playing out now. And one of the things I feel is the most important for everyone to really consider in any situation in their life, whether it's now or 10 years time even, is to, when you're being confronted or triggered by something that's coming in, that's happening in your experience right now, the best, or the one thing to do is to ask yourself, how can I respond to this in a different way to how I've always reacted to it? So the reaction is an instant thing that we just do, and it's whatever it might be. Whereas a response, when we come back, we take a breath and we look at how can I respond to this differently? Then we come in with something different. You'll come up with something, it'll happen. And that there changes the program from what you've always run prior to this throughout life. So the more we can be aware and conscious of actually how we're responding to things and what is it that I need to do differently that will change this for me in the future, because everything you do now is going to alter something for you in the future, unless you don't. You know? So it's important, and I feel this time, and it has been for a little while now, that's an important part of seeing where you're heading and where do you really want to go. If we respond in the same way or react in the same way we always have, we're just going to get more of the same. So it's having that opportunity in the moment to switch it over somehow.
Yes, totally. I've always said that reaction is a mind-based thing and response is a heart-based thing. So, change comes in a moment. So in one moment of doing something different, we're beginning to instigate a change in our life.
Absolutely.
And if it comes from us, if it comes willingly from us to make a change in how we respond in the moment, then it's a far more gentle way to bring that change into our life. If we don't, if we continually ignore the fact that we know we need to make a change somewhere and we're just too afraid or too stubborn to do that, then change will do it for us. So the energy of change will actually come in. I mean, I've said this before, that, you know, first of all, change will tickle us with a feather. And that's when we get the little promptings that it's time for us to do something different, to make a difference in a moment, to take a small step. And if we don't do that, then of course change will throw a brick at us. And this time it's hard to ignore, like it bonks us on the head in some way, and it's hard to ignore. But if we stubbornly refuse, even then, to bring that change in, then along comes the freight train, and there's no avoiding that. So this is, the freight train is the big things like car accident, death in the family, disease within our body, whatever it is. But we're at that point where we cannot anymore distract ourselves from that change. So why get to that point when we can do it from the tickle of a feather, which simply means, as you said before, Mandy, we make that change in a moment of actually responding differently to how we've always responded. You know, and another thing that I often say to people is, you know, just stand in the moment and ask yourself, how would love respond to this? Or what would love do right now in this instant? And,
absolutely.
And go with that flow from the heart within that moment, and then see how you feel after you've done that, because that's the big reward, is how we feel in ourselves and about ourselves after we've done something a little differently, and it's been from the heart rather than from the mind. You know, I'd like to just bring up now too that in the last week in the last few weeks, we've had the Freedom Village here in New Zealand, in Wellington. And I've watched quite a bit of the lives of that, and I've been blown away by the incredible connectiveness the loving energy, the coming together and thriving and supporting and learning together. And I believe that these freedom villages that are all around the planet at the moment are the templates for the new world. And
Yes.
I was absolutely with the fact that so the message, the title of our talk today is How Do We Love Them? Well, I would use as the perfect example how those people stood linking arms together and stood there in love and peace, and even chanting it in the face of the abuser and in the face of the antagonists and those that are working on the side of deceit. And look at the energy they held. And I don't know how many times I felt the fierce energy of pride, and you know, and I was right there energetically holding that space with so many others that couldn't be there physically, you know. So just wanted to bring that in and acknowledge that, because it kind of fits within the conversation today. That is, how do we love them? That's exactly how we love them, you know. And even though that whole village was razed to the ground and by the aggressors, already people have come back together in their love and peace and their want of love and peace, and are rebuilding in different ways, you know. So the learning has been gained from that, and they've taken away so much from that time, you know. There's no way that was wasted on any level or didn't achieve anything, because oh my gosh, on an energetic level, it achieved a huge amount. So
it did, and it was a real a great template, I think, like you say, for this new world that we're building, because everyone just came together and unified. They just unified, and they weren't, you know, people would say, why don't the leaders do blah blah? Well, there weren't any leaders.
No,
everyone just went with what they knew they had to do, and they all did it, linking arms and building, you know, a community. They needed toilets, they built toilets. They needed schooling for the kids, they built schools. You know, it was a beautiful thing to watch, and I think a great example of where we're heading.
Absolutely. And you know, in the new world, everybody, like now, everybody has their gifts, has their strengths, and brings them into the community, and everything is pulled together by these gifts and by the passions of people. So it's not work, because you're all building something together, and you watch it form day by day. This is exactly what we're doing now on a global level, coming into the new world. We're starting to find our areas where we can support the most. We're starting to find the gifts within ourselves that we can bring, whether they're physical gifts or energetic and spiritual gifts. It makes no difference whatsoever. We all have our areas of expertise, and when we slot together like the jigsaw of humanity that we are, the picture is incredibly beautiful, incredibly powerful. You know, there is no stopping us as the light moving forward. We're a wave, and there's just no stopping that wave now, because it's built. Yeah.
It is. It's a beautiful thing. And, you know, just going back a little bit and saying that, you know, sometimes we need, I've always said, you know, humans need shock to move themselves sometimes. So it's not until we have a shock that we will move out of something or change it.
That's the freight train at times, or the brick.
Yes, that's right, the brick. And so this is what I see is happening now, is we're getting the freight train. You know, we've had to be shocked into awakening, shocked to wake up to what's really going on. And so again, when we come back to the play actors, and that this is all just a whole, you know, play that we're all playing a part in, when we see that these people are playing a part out for us to heal whatever it might be, these wounds that we're reacting from and all those triggers, when we get the opportunity to do that, and we do that, there isn't even a forgiveness for those people and what they've done. What we do is we actually bless them and thank them so deeply for their teaching, for their assistance in giving us what we needed to bring ourselves into high vibrational space and awareness, to heal the body of any disease or illness that may be carried in those old wounds. You know, there's a huge opportunity here for us to transform ourselves and, of course, move into our higher light, which we're all doing in our own way. But when we do that, what happens there is, as you probably all know, is that we heal our body. Our body is then, you know, my term is bulletproof. There's no dis-ease in it. And so therefore there isn't the need for, and this is where I'm, you know, heading with this, is in the sense of the new world that we're building, is there doesn't have to be hospitals. You know, we're going to be, maybe have energy work hospitals, but not the machinery and the things that we've got going on now. And it was interesting, actually, I just want to bring that in while we're on that, is that I was seeing the other day that we've got there's two, and these will be two main, but there'll be branches off them in all directions, of course. But I sort of see two worlds that we could be building in here. And this is that we're moving through with the natural, organic, authentic self that is its own healer. It knows exactly what it needs for itself, and it doesn't need governing over it. It is a self-governance, and it moves in a flow, in a unified way. And then there's the other world that I can see coming in with the technology, that is also, I could see, has advantages to it, but I feel it takes, again, and this is where I feel, for me anyway, it's a cautioning, in that it can easily take us away again from this within, because we're handing it over maybe to, you know, med beds, for an example. There's always been just something that's been this little questioning around the med beds for me. I've never been one that's just like, oh yeah, we've got to do that. And for me, it just felt that this was, again, taking us away from our own internal journey, that we're handing our power over now to a med bed to help us fix us. So yeah, there's two pathways I can see coming in, but this knowing of you know, clearing ourselves so that we can raise ourselves into these higher frequencies and be the light here that we know we really are, and use it in a really constructive, positive way.
Totally. You just saying before about those that are sort of on the side of the dark team playing roles as well to help us. That reminds me of what my beautiful team of benevolent beings said to me years ago. And they said to me, dear one, if we were to tell you that those that stand against you, that those that push you to try and do their bidding instead of your own, are actually some of your guides that love you the most, how would you feel? And at that stage I said I wouldn't believe it, because why would they do that? And they said to me, because they love you the most, they are willing to take your wrath, to take your anger, all that negativity that you will throw at them during your lifetime. They're willing to take that on to help you and support you in some way that has been pre-contracted. So this may trigger quite a few people out there, but those on the opposing team, you could say, at the moment, are here for reason. And you know, in the future, we'll look back in hindsight, we will see more clearly how it's only through the dark pushing at us, that we burst into the light within us and remembered, broke out of the spell and remembered who and what we are. So for eons of time, we've been held down within it, but now it's actually turned and we're being helped out of it by the very same energy. And I see that very clearly.
Charlotte has said, when we have done so much work on ourselves, I find it very interesting when you see the old abusers. I can only put but thank them. You sure know what has healed from within. And that's exactly it. And I remember saying that to my daughter. She said, you know, at the moment I just really, you know, and she had some anks around her necks. And I said to her, you know, one day you're going to thank and bless him for this, and send him so much love. And she just, you know, a few years later, she said, Mum, I get it. I really understand that now. You know, she was in that space after all her healing. So it's a tough road until we're there. Definitely.
Yeah.
That's
a very good way of putting it, Mandy. It's a tough road until we're there. And, I mean, really, are we ever there? But yes, we do. We do come along. You know, yeah, we come along to signposts that show us that we're on the way to there anyway.
Yeah.
You know, getting back to what you said before about the med beds, I completely agree with what you were saying there too. Popping into a med bed feels to me like I would be giving my power over to a machine. And even if it's a high-tech machine, even if it's extraterrestrial knowledge, there's always been a caution in me about the med beds. And when I know, as you know, that we have it in ourselves to be able to heal ourselves, and we're moving there now to remembering that and how to do that. And so by the time the med beds are actually a worldwide thing, we'll have a lot more of our memory of who and what we are as being able to completely heal ourselves too. And so I have a about the as well. Yeah.
I know it's, you know, I sort of think, oh well, you know, it's a quick fix and it's obviously going to be good, but it just, for me, it does too. It takes that all away, you know.
And you know, who says it's going to be good? Like, exactly. Well, truly, you know, there will be med beds out there that won't be for our good. No. So, you know, this again, it'll be about our discernment, and it's always now about our discernment, because we're learning in ourselves to trust ourselves.
Yes.
We only trust ourselves when we are faced with something and we either say a yes to it or a no to it, and then we live the responsibility and consequence of it.
Yes.
So, and that's how we trust ourselves. So,
and that just brings me to that point where I hear so often, and I know I've been there, done that too, I've said it for many years, that we're being controlled.
Yeah.
You know, oh my God, they're just controlling us. You know, there's so much control, and you know, the losing freedoms, I understand that, but the freedom is again, it's something within, you know. And I've lived basically through this whole last 2 years as though that's not my stuff. You know, people have sworn at me on the street for not wearing a mask. Well, okay, that's your stuff, that's not mine. So in that sense of controlling us, again, that's us handing over our power. And also in that whole program, we have not been aware that that's actually what's been going on, that we handed our power away. So that's the only way somebody can have control over you or oppress or suppress you, is by you giving them that power. So it's to me, that whole, you know, when I hear people say, oh, you know, we've been controlled, and they're getting irate about that, it's really coming back to that point of, well, this is you actually doing this to you, which, you know, I'm not going to agree with that though. And I know when, you know, when I was first, when it was all the realization, you know, you hear it so many times that we create our world. And in my very young years, you know, having rapes and bashings and things like that going on, I would think, you know, when that would be said to me, and I'd think, oh my God, as if I would be wanting to do this to myself, you know, and create this sort of world for myself. And then the realization, when I really did get the knowing of it, you know, I had heard it and I knew it, but I actually wasn't knowing it in here. Once that hit there and I got that, it was totally switched. Oh my goodness. And I could see, and then there was the falling into the, oh my God, why did you do that to yourself? You know, and that journey, then it was a processing on that, giving myself a hard time about actually allowing that. But, you know, we don't know until we know. And there's a lot now that are coming into that realization and realizing that, yes, I can get all the green lights if I want them, you know, or I can get all the red lights. It's up to us, and it really is up to us.
Such an easy way to prove our our own power to ourselves, isn't it? You know, getting the red lights or the green lights, finding the car park right outside the shop, you know, all those little bits and pieces that show us the power of ourselves. You know, you talking about masks before, I'm another one. I've never worn a mask, and I went into a shop just the other day, about 2 days ago, and behind the counter were 2 shop assistants. One was wearing a mask, one was completely maskless and had an exemption form pinned to her top. Now, I've never seen that before. And I leaned across the counter and I touched it and I said, "I love your badge of honor." And she burst out laughing and she goes, "Thank you." She says, "It's taken a lot of courage to wear this here." You know, and the other girl with the mask on said, "Why won't you wear a mask?" to me. And I said, "Are you asking me because you want me to put a mask on for you?" And she said, "Well, I want you to put a mask on for yourself." And I said, "But why would you expect me to buy into your fear?" And the first girl, she said, "Oh, I've just got goosebumps." And the second one with the mask on just undid one side and let it drop.
Good.
And she just stared at me for a moment. She wouldn't take it off, but she let it drop and she just stared at me for a moment and she went away. And I thought, she's considering what I said about why would you expect me to buy into your fear? Like I was handing it back, ownership back to her for how she was feeling, and she wasn't sure what, because she'd never had an answer like that before. She wasn't sure what to do with it, but she knew she had to do something with it. So she's been given a clear choice right then and there, you know. So
cool.
Yeah, it was a really cool exchange. So especially seeing the young girl wearing the exemption on the front of the top, I thought, good for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just standing in a power, not defying anything or not complying, and just standing in her power.
Yes,
her freedom of choice to be and do what she wants to do for her health and her, you know, for the balance of herself.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that was a lot of the stance that was taken with me as well, you know, was why aren't you doing it for other people? Not my thing. It's not my issue. That's, you know, they take care of them, I'll take care of me. And I've lost track where I was heading then. But the realization too that this is not my creation in the sense of my fear. I don't have the fear that I was watching everyone else in. And our family having COVID last week, you know, and I'm in the house with them all, but it didn't come my way because it's not my consciousness. I don't, you know, it's just not my thing.
Yeah.
So it's really getting to, I think the most important of all of it is getting to know yourself.
Yes.
You know, and coming back to that power that we have within ourselves. Like when I repaired my 2 smashed toes, you know, that was a 20-minute process and repaired the bones completely. I mean, those are the things that we are absolutely able to do and do all the time with anything. And yet we tend to hand again over to somebody else helping us repair them or, you know, heal us or whatever it might be. And sure, sometimes we need some assistance or reminding of how this, you know, how it works. But we have the power, and this is the time we start turning it on, like really turning it on.
We so easily in the past have given our power away to someone else. And
absolutely.
In so many instances, even like with broken toes and going and getting them fixed, which naturally most people would do, of course, you know.
And that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, how do we love them? We start to believe in ourselves. We start to trust in ourselves. We become present with ourselves, learn about ourselves, and gain our love back for ourselves. That's how we love them, by coming into love within ourselves and testing it out outside of ourselves on others, because love is always met, even from a closed heart, even from a person with a completely closed heart who's completely programmed and doesn't want to know and doesn't have any belief in love. Love still has an effect. It may not be seen, but on some level it will be felt and it will have a ripple within that person. So, you know, it's the gift that keeps on giving, as they say.
It is. And it's a beautiful time to really be here, as much as, you know, there's been certainly been days where I haven't loved it over these last couple of years. But in the bigger picture, when you really look at the whole of it and you get the idea of and the knowing within of this is us now changing the world that we're living in by moving away from the oppression, and that is us giving our power away, bringing back our power, claiming it, and really standing in the truth of that, and now starting to really create. And you know me, I get so excited about the magic that we can, just even now it bubbles up in me and I just feel like I could fire magic out everywhere. But it's like
I can feel it. I can feel it.
The actual, you know, energy that we are, when we really come into vibration and energy, we can move mountains. We can move mountains. We actually can. And oh my God, that's just something I'd love to switch on, like a little light switching on in everyone on the planet, for them to get it. Because I think if there's one thing that I have been sad about all my life on the planet with humanity, is their total disrespect for life. You know, not everyone, of course, that's not a generalization, but for the very lost, you know, there's a real disrespect for life. And I think if you really understand what you're doing here and how incredible it is to be in this body, which I didn't love my body for many years, you know, I treated it terribly. And when I realized, oh my goodness, this is actually my temple, and we aren't the body, you know, but yes, we are in a sense. I mean, it's our vehicle to be here, and we can touch, we can hold, and we can actually feel things in a, you know, through matter. We couldn't do that in spirit. We are not that way. We haven't got that physical touch. So this is a true blessing to be here and to be living in this time that we chose to be here. And I've said it many times, I knew this was the time I came in for when I was a little kid. And I think the biggest thing I had to get my head around, and it was my head, taking me back into my human perception, was the way that this was being played out now. You know, I didn't know that it was going to go down this way.
Yeah.
And none of us did, I don't think. We knew there would be a consciousness shift, and a huge one coming in, but we didn't really know what way it was going to play out. And that was the biggest shock for me.
We would have run a mile if we had have known.
Oh,
we would have been
like, what?
Out of this
it was going to be a bit more pleasant than this. You know, it was like, wow. But now coming back, it's like that thing that just keeps running through, is that humans have to be shocked. Yeah. We've got to get a bloody big shake up before we wake up sometimes. That's just what we do.
That is human nature, isn't it? Sometimes what did you say before that? Oh yes, when you were talking about the body and you were touching your hands, and like I was really feeling love then when you were doing that, and the love that you've got for your body now that you never used to have. And that's a beautiful way that love demonstrates itself, is through the physical interaction here. It's through the touch and every physical sense that the body affords us. So we need the body in this reality, because that is love in action. That is a representation of love as well. You know, being a physical, an energetic, an emotional, a mental and spiritual being, multi-layered, multifaceted, love shows on each level in unique ways how it is the actual fabric of this universe and the fabric of us, of course. So just the way you were touching your hands then as you were talking. Well, I could see love right there.
And it was interesting because just the other day I was sitting actually on a call, and then I got this stuff coming through, so I started writing it down. And it's all around that. And obviously it's an important time again now for this type of energy. But I've just written, I'll write it out, I'll just quickly read it, it's not much. Hug, touch, love, caress, embrace. Bring your physical bodies together now in expressions of love. Unite in fields of embrace and allow the unification of physical touch again. Energy cannot touch energy as physical matter can touch physical matter. this power is igniting the physical body with love is what's required now on your planet. There is great desire for closeness, even if the emotional body is defensive. Work through what keeps you standing back. Any discord can now be released in a moment. A new frequency you are birthing. Physical touch helps anchor the new frequencies to earth. So I'll write that up with our thing when I put this back up. But
beautiful.
I just feel that it's like we've been separated and segregated from and divided up, and there's been so much division, and I think that for me has been one of the hardest things. I've had to ask people now, is it okay if I give you a hug, when a client's leaving or whatever? And it's like before it was automatic, but now it's like we need to sort of ask people, because everyone's so guarded again, which is a shame, but it is. And this coming through, it was like, yes, now it's time to drop all the fear again and actually start embracing each other and not be fearful of that connection. And that again was what Wellington showed us, was that, and so many people that went just even to visit and come home again was saying how many cuddles they had, how many hugs they got, and how much love was there. It was just, it was fully embraced, and it was beautiful. And this is the time to really anchor in and open up to that embrace again. It's beautiful.
Oh, totally. Every camera that was on through that village, I was right there energetically, and all the smiles, and as you say, all the hugging, all that is the natural world. And we are natural beings. We are children of nature. So we thrive in a natural world. And a natural world is touch. That's a big part of the natural world. And it's been deliberate that we've been separated away from our natural world and led into a very unnatural world. It's all been very deliberate. And on one level, it's all been simply an experience that us as souls have actually thoroughly enjoyed, learning about the separation. What will it feel like if I'm separate from the knowing of myself? If I'm separate from the mightiness and the power of myself? How will it feel to feel small, contained, controlled for lifetimes,
Yeah.
Well, we're completed with that. We're done with that now. And now we're rising back into our truth, into our power, into our light and our love. And all this is coming back now. But as we shed the pieces that we've finished with, the aspects that we no longer require now, because we've finished the old experience, they're waving goodbye as they move on through us and this reality. And fear plays the biggest part in that. So every time we feel that fear now, leading up to now and over the next few months, it's waving goodbye to us. If we could see it like that, it's like, oh God, I'm right here, I'm in this, I'm really feeling the fear. Oh, okay, it's just waving goodbye. It's just waving goodbye. Make it light, even within the dense and heaviness of that fear. Try and find the lightness in it, because it is leaving. That is truth. It is leaving. It is not in the new world that we're creating. Only as imminent, dangerous situation of falling off a cliff or something like that will we have that response in our gut. Warning, or caution. That'll be the only fear. Otherwise, there won't be any fear, because we're coming back into the natural world of thriving, and that looks incredible, absolutely incredible. Home to ourselves in that world, darling lady.
Absolutely, and I love that. I love it, and it's such a. I think I said about the shift in energy in December, there was that ether shift thing that happened. And when I asked what was that with the impact on my body, it was that we'd moved into a new timeline. And I see these events happening now, which aren't the event that we're all sort of told about or being spoken about. I see them now as these light shifts that we move every time we've moved something more on a collective scale. We move into a new timeline, and I feel where this is now again going to happen in the end of this month. I feel we move into a new timeline by the time we get into the first couple of weeks of April. And for me, each time that happens, there's a different way this light is presenting itself. In a sense, it's like for quite a while after the last shift, it was like this light was just a different light. It was really bright. And if I covered my third eye, it was like I'd put some sunglasses on, and it eased it for me. So there's definitely those shifts that are helping us move into these spaces and bring this unified space and
Absolutely.
in.
There is also coming up, there's earth shifts that will be happening too, physical earth shifts. So if we can see them rather than be fearful about where they may hit on the earth and what they may bring, if we could see them as opportunities to bring us closer together, like, if there's, for instance, an earthquake in our area, people pull together, they bring their resources together, they rebuild community in a different way. And it may be because they need to, that's the only way they'll be able to survive. But besides that, it's bringing people back together again. And so this is, the earth is flexing as well as us. She's changing as well. She's going through the ascension like us all. And so I know for a fact that we are coming into a time after April where we're going to see a lot of earth changes happening, and it's all okay. And it's all okay. I said to the team years ago, well, in this time approaching in the future, how will I know where to be safe? And they said, dear one, all you've got to do is follow your intuition, and you will always be in the right place at the right time. And that's the truth. Wherever we are is where we're meant to be in that moment when anything happens. And how we gather ourselves from that is our learning and our growth and our becoming present in the moment and seeing what do I have in me that's going to help everybody in this moment and myself come together and survive here, So I went to a meeting, I have already told you this, but I went to a meeting last week of locals in this area, and I found out that these meetings are going on all over the country, and they're going on in different countries as well, how locals are coming together and they're finding out what each other brings to the area and how they can pull their resources so that we survive outside the mainstream living arrangements, if you like, the controlled way of living, and we can survive parallel to that, alongside that, but in our own way. And the earth changes will help with all that as well, so we have a lot to look forward to, even though we've got a bit to get through yet.
Absolutely.
You got somebody there?
I have got comments here that I'd like to just read in. Kylie, she says, yes, hugs, physical touch, love, care, sharing, physical to anchor. Beautiful. And then Lynn says, Kylie. I too watched the live village walks in Wellington and felt and saw everything you described, to the extent I had tears rolling down my cheeks and my heart was full of love to running over.
See,
that's beautiful.
That's the natural. That is the natural within us, we're a part of that. That is us. Beautiful, Lynn. Beautiful.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
And there's one more. Tony has said, is this video be accessible after the live? Yes, it will be. We'll leave it up online, but I will also add in our intros and things and repost it again. So it'll be there, everyone, and go on to the YouTube channel as well. Myself and Janine's YouTube channel.
Yes. Beautiful. What a beautiful conversation.
Yes, absolutely. So, if anyone doesn't know how to clear the old wounding, yell out, reach out to anyone, myself, Janine, anyone that that may be able to assist you if you feel that you are stuck in any way, because it's the key to breaking through all of this and bringing yourself into your heart more. And you know, if we look at that, even that comment there, it's like, you know, we say the new world, what we're meaning in respect to that is a unified state where we're all working together, and there isn't going to need to be the governance that we have, you know, when we're, you know, aligned and we're living by heart, we're not out there hurting other people, we're not destructive, we're not sabotaging, you know, we're not creating all these waves that are unhealthy. So it's that we're talking about in the sense of the new world coming into a love space. And one of the things that we have done forever has been hurt, and that is through our own unawareness of how these patterns play out, how vibration and energy work, how we've been working together collectively even though we didn't know that. And what we've done is we've shut our heart down, you know, to protect ourselves. And this time now is the opening of, so we're cracking open the, you know, cemented covers that we might have even had on them. We've got our, you know, chisels and our big jackhammers out to open these up so that we can come into that space of love. And again, one of the things I think I've always said, and it's on my website, is that I believe, you know, you hear this all the time, and I know I did over my life, is, oh, the world needs more love, you know, and it's not so much that it needs more love, it's just that we needed to open ourselves to love. We needed to either, you know, not so much even open it up for it to be coming out from out there to us, but about us being able to open up here to let it out, because I believe that's the one thing that I really truly believe really alters a person's vibrational space and creates more disease and illness throughout the body, is the confining of that love and not being able to express it out. So what you're doing is you're just compounding it down, you know, all the time, just more and more and more. And this time now is about releasing that, letting it open, and finding the courage to trust that, you know, you create the pain in your life. I know that sounds horrible, really, because it's that realization that we're responsible for everything, you know. And when I woke up to that, it was like, oh my gosh, it's a heavy ride. It's a heavy ride. But, you know, when you really get that and you start recognizing that you're creating everything that you're bringing into your world, then you start turning it on and you start getting that, okay, well, I'm going to leave this out now and I'm going to bring more of this in. And you start being able to really sort of control it in a sense. And this is us. It's now time to open to allow this love out of you. Just let it out.
Or allow love to be you.
Yes, because it is you. It is us. Yeah.
You know, it's so as I said earlier on in our conversation, love is the very fabric of our universe here. So it's never been gone. It's never been absent. It's always given us the opportunity to know it by its presence or by its absence. And so often we have chosen to know love by its absence. So whole lifetimes, in fact, we haven't had love within our life in any shape or form. And but now that is changing, that paradigm is changing, and love, we will know love by its presence always and in all ways from now on. So this is the change that's happening right now. Yeah,
it is. It's beautiful. And that oh God, that just went as quick as it came. It'll come back.
That's the happening of the new world. You've got to be fully present in every moment. Yeah. It's been a wonderful conversation, darling lady, and my favourite topic is love. So, I mean, how do we love them? Wow, it's just I love that topic. So I agree with you. If anybody needs any support, any one to walk with them on their journey for a while, for however long, then this is what we're here for. And you know, it's always my honor to be able to do that. Yeah,
I know what I was going to say is that grief, I've heard somebody quoted this somewhere a while back, saying that grief is because what we've done is we've directed this love to this person, and then when they pass over, we're in grief because we haven't got anywhere to direct that love anymore.
Yeah.
And that's really what grief is. And I thought, gosh, that makes so much sense.
Yes.
I can see how that is.
Yeah. Grief is the gap that's left behind when love has nowhere to go. And now we're knowing to bring it inwards, direct it back to ourselves. Yeah, beautiful.
Lovely. Well, thank you, Janine. Gorgeous lady.
Thank you, Mandy. Beautiful bow.
Wow. And thank you to all of our listeners and viewers out there, and thank you all for your questions and your shares. They'll be under there for us all to connect with you as we go after we've finished.
Absolutely.
So thank you Keep an eye out. We're going to do this on a regular basis, so yeah.
Love to you all. Love to you, Mandy.
Yes, and you. Bye-bye.
Bye.